The Titanic had been missing at the bottom of the ocean. About the intense search underway.
That is the debris of that submersible that went down.
An American company, Oceangate, was founded in 2009. It mainly focused on deep-sea exploration, but in 2021 it started organizing tourist expeditions on its own submersible named Titan. Their destination was the wreck of the Titanic at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. As of 2022, the ticket price for the expedition was $250,000. On the morning of June 18, 2023, the Titan submersible with a crew of 5 people, the founder of Oceangate, a British businessman and adventurer, a veteran French deep-sea explorer, and a Pakistani businessman with his 19-year-old son, descended into the ocean about 690 kilometers of the Canadian coast. For the first hour and a half of the 4-kilometer descent, Titan communicated with polar prints. The vessel detracted every 15 minutes, but then communications stopped. The submersible was scheduled to resurface after 5.5 hours from that point, but it failed to come back in time. 2.5 hours later, the US Coast Guard was notified of the missing vessel. A massive international search and rescue operation was conducted. Titan had up to 96 hours of breathable air supply for its 5 passengers when it set out. The rescuers were racing against time. After 80 hours, a remotely operated underwater vehicle discovered the debris parts of Titan not far away from the bow of the Titanic. Within hours, it was established that an implosion of the hull had occurred during the Titan's descent, resulting in the instantaneous deaths of all 5 passengers. The situation attracted enormous attention from the worldwide media. In the days after the disappearance, the company, its founder, and the submersible were closely examined and scrutinized by authorities, journalists, and the global community. And very soon, the details started surfacing. Titan, the submersible that was used in the expedition, was the 3rd model developed by Oceangate. But it was different from all previous models and all other deep-sea submersibles. Its hull was made of titanium and carbon fiber composite, to the contrast of conventional, well-tested and widely used steel. Their previous steel-hulled model that had been in use since 2015, Cyclops 1, was only capable of reaching 500 meters, while Titan was designed for 4,000. It didn't have any cockpits or controllers, just a single power button, a touchscreen display, and a modified $49 Logitech gamepad for steering. The use of gamepads for complex tech is actually not unusual. After all, they're practical and intuitive enough for the US military. However, it's important to stress that they typically don't use random low-budget game controllers for their purposes, and instead opt for highly reliable, custom-built ones. Titan was presented as a revolutionary vehicle, but it had a lot of cheap off-the-shelf components in its design.
Use these off-the-shelf components. I got these from Camper World.
However, the crucial parts were considered highly reliable by the company. Specifically its unconventional hull, which was made of high-tech composite materials. There were also 7 redundant systems to return the vessel back to the surface in case of emergency. Sandbags, thrusters, air balloons, and the ballast that would detach automatically after a certain critical time period, even if the crew was unconscious. Essentially an insurance of an insurance of an insurance. And judging by the piece made by CBS, the company did take precautions. The vessel would be carefully examined before and after submersions, they would cancel everything in case of bad weather and wait it out. However, the vessel had never been certified or scrutinized by a third party during its development. And in 2018, upon its release, the Marine Technology Society published an open letter stating that Oceangate's experimental approach could result in negative outcomes, ranging from minor to catastrophic, that would have serious consequences for everyone in the industry. And the vehicle certainly had easily identifiable problems. The hatch could only be opened from the outside because it was bolted down before descent. So in a situation where the sub successfully resurfaced somewhere where it couldn't be found within roughly 90 hours, it would simply run out of oxygen. And tracking Titan was also difficult. It didn't have a GPS or location beacon, losses of contact were not unusual, and its only window was reportedly never designed to withstand depths of even 1500 meters, let alone 4000. Having said all that, the weakest link, as it turned out to be in the catastrophe, was the one deemed most reliable and thought through by the company, the hull itself. Unlike most steel-based hulls, this one was made primarily of carbon composite.
Carbon fiber is an engineer's dream. Lightweight, yet incredibly strong.
During continuous use, composite materials, unlike uniform materials like steel or titanium, are subject to degradation. They wear and tear, but it's hardly detectable until it's too late. The fact that the hull itself wasn't spherical, and a lot of those deep-sea submersibles are because spheres distribute the pressure much more evenly, only exacerbated this problem, and eventually the vessel imploded.
But to me, the big irony is that the Titanic sank because of bad seamanship. The captain was warned, and he took a decision to go full speed into a no.
Much has been said about the company's founder as well, Stockton Rush. He was quite bold and confident in himself and his ventures. By 2023, he himself had dived to the Titanic at least a dozen times. The man also had credentials, and he even came from a respectable background. Through his father, he was a descendant of two signers of the Declaration of Independence, Richard Stockton and physician Benjamin Rush. He had a degree in aerospace engineering from Princeton and an MBA from Berkeley. His company collaborated with reputable organizations like the University of Washington, and his previous submersibles were successful. But in the end, his interviews show that he had a somewhat negative view towards excessive safety.
At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything. Yeah. At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk-reward question. I said, I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules.
On June 28th, the remains of the submersible were finally recovered from the bottom of the Atlantic.